This is the Sergio Rodriguez Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other. Today, NFL playoffs. Can't get better than this. You know, there was last week, the 6 games was something different, something that I think the NFL is going to probably have to keep. We spoke about that a little because we mentioned how, one, it gave a full slate for the weekend, but 2, it also provided a lot of importance for the 1 seed. And the 1 seeds, both of them advanced this weekend, but you can just put a little bit more importance on obviously being the number 1 seed overall in each conference. We're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss the matchups for the Final Four the following week. 2 great games. Great games. If you really believe in Tampa, then you're going to expect 2 great games. I'm not that high on Tampa. I haven't been high on Tampa the whole year. You guys that listen to the show religiously know that, but we still have to speak about it and we will break it down. But first, Triangle Ink. Triangle Ink is the leading manufacturer in the screen printing industry, delivering the finest inks for over 35 years. Check them out at triangleink.com or call them at 1-800-524-1592. Paramus Driving School. Safety and professionalism begins with Paramus Driving School, serving the North Jersey area like no other. Contact them at paramusdrivingschool.com or call them at 201-986-8300. M&J Luxury Inc. For the most unique experience in the medical transportation business, call M&J, located in New York City with over 1,000 cars at your disposal. Call them at 718-278-2222 or 914-484-7264. We go to Green Bay, where Game 1 on Saturday was played. 32-18, the Packers over the Rams. You know, I'll tell you this about the game. The fact that the game was a 1-score game late in the game, well, I said late, but you know, I guess it was late in the game, surprised me a little. But I never really got the feeling that the Rams were going to win that game. It almost seemed like everyone that I was texting with about the game assumed that the Rams had the 6.5 points that Vegas was giving them. And that's what it was really about the entire game. You know, would they cover? I don't think no one ever felt they were going to win that I spoke to, but everybody felt that they would cover. And they did not. Rodgers, 23 for 36 for 296 and 2 touchdowns. Jones had a nice game on the ground, 1499 and 1 touchdown. Lazard, 496 and the big touchdown at the end that ultimately closed the door on the Rams. And Adams also had a nice game, 9 for 66 and a touchdown. You know, the Rams cut the game to 16-10 right before the half. And when I looked up, I saw that there was 29 seconds left. And I said to someone, I said, you know, they have to get a stop here because Rodgers is not going to kneel on this ball. They can't give up a field goal here. You just can't, because Green Bay is going to get the ball out of the half. What happens? They gave up a field goal to end the half. 5 plays, 54 yards in 29 seconds, 19-10 at the half. You know, those games like that, for a defense that came in there with as much talent and as good as they are, because they are good, they've had their moments this year as a team where they've been up and down. But the defense has really not. The times the defense has not been elite has been because the offense turns the ball over and gives the other team the ball at the 20 going in. But for a defense that a lot was expected of and that needed to play at an elite level to win this game or to have a shot in this game, they came up small in that moment. That was huge. And they caught a break too because Rodgers also missed in the third quarter, I believe it was. He missed a stop and go down the left sideline where he overthrew the receiver. That might have been on the first drive out of the half. That would have made the game essentially over at that point. You know, they just were not really good the other night against Green Bay. Not that many teams are. But the Rams game plan consisted of having to be elite on that day. And, you know, and they just weren't. They just weren't. That game was 25-10 at the end of the third. And then, you know, the Lazard play, like I said, put the game away at the end after the Rams had cut it to 7 at 25-18. The Rams only had 244 total yards of offense, 17 first downs. I mean, you know, they lost the time of possession 36-24. It's hard. It's hard to win those games that way. It's hard. You know, it's hard to win those games that way. And you know, I felt all along throughout the year that the Rams were a team that had an opportunity. They had a shot. If their offense can do something or could do something in those first half of those games. But the Goff injury didn't help. And Goff, you know, I'm seeing too many of these 19 for 26 for 180-yard games from him. You know, he's going to have to start they're going to have to get a receiver that's going to help them push the ball down the field, or they're going to have to make sure that Goff pushes the ball down the field, because they can't continue this pace where they're tricking you to score and it's taking them 13 plays on every drive to get a touchdown if they want to do something next year while this defense is still really good. The night game on Saturday, Buffalo beat the Ravens 17-3. Allen, 23 for 37, 206 and a touchdown. Diggs, 8 for $106 and a touchdown. You know, Buffalo only had 29 yards from their running backs. Now, granted, they only had 9 carries from the running backs. It almost seemed like they were in a straight 2-minute offense the entire first half. They were in a shotgun, throwing the ball all over the field. And they do that a lot. We get that. But without Moss playing, it seemed like they almost said, okay, we only have X amount of carries in Singletary, so we're going to throw the ball in the first half and use him in the second half. Because that's exactly what they basically did. He got his carries basically all in the second half. Lamar Jackson, 14 for 24, an interception, a big interception, a huge interception. At 10-3 going in, worst case scenario, you're going to get out of that at 10-6. He throws a ball. They spied him up. Interception, return for a touchdown, 17-3. At that point, ball game over. Lamar Jackson later got hurt, got knocked out of the game with a concussion. And let's discuss Lamar Jackson for a second here. You guys know how I feel about Lamar Jackson. One-trick pony. In my opinion, he's a one-trick pony. A guy that if you just control his offensive running game, you know, he's not going to do much damage through the air. Lamar Jackson threw 4 playoff games, and this is where it shows. Understand something. Lamar Jackson is a good enough football player where he's going to win you games in the regular season. And the Ravens defense is solid enough where they're going to do their thing. Where Lamar Jackson's always going to get you as a Ravens fan or as a gambler, because I saw a lot of people bet the Ravens. I was shocked. Is that one, when you're playing teams in the playoffs, they're usually good. Those defenses are good because they're able to control big plays. Lamar Jackson's big plays all come from his legs. If you control that, you control them. They struggled against Tennessee, a team that has a terrible defense, no pass rush, the week before. And they got 3 points against Buffalo. Three points. Lamar Jackson is now 1-3 in the playoffs. And now look, I'm not one of these guys that puts all this emphasis on winning and losing, because to me, that doesn't necessarily define who you are in terms of the quality of the player. But it just goes to show, to the point that I always talk about, that he will struggle in the playoffs against good teams when they have time to prepare for him, because in the regular season, teams don't scout you the same way. And if they have a divisional game the next week, you get the, oh, by the way, scout. They don't have time to go into all that stuff. And normally in the playoffs, you're seeing teams that have already seen you. And teams that are good. He's 1-3 in the playoffs, which again, like I said, that one I'll give him a pass for, because he could be 1-3 with 35 touchdowns and, 60 touchdowns and 400 yards and 4,000 yards, and it wouldn't matter, right? At the end of the day, it is what it is. Sometimes you have to watch the games to understand if he's part of the problem or part of the solution, and other people are the problem. But I will tell you, the 1-3 he is part of this problem, because in those games, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 56% completion ratio. You are not going to beat good teams this way. Not in the playoffs. You're just not. You're just not. The Ravens ran for 150 this game, but 2 drives ended because they wanted to put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. Don't ask me why. First drive of the game, they're driving the ball down, running the ball basically 7 yards a pop. They choose to throw the ball on first down from about the 20 going in. Lamar Jackson gets sacked, loses about 10 or 14 yards around there. They end up having to kick a field goal, which Tucker misses. By the way, Tucker missed 2 field goals, which also didn't help the matter. The next drive, the drive where he threw the pick 6. Again, how did they end up in that situation? Trying to throw the ball early. Put him in that situation where it was 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, where he threw the interception. Understand that the Ravens lost a playoff game where Buffalo was terrible on offense. Buffalo had 220 total yards. 220. And the Ravens couldn't compete. Why? The quarterback. Plain and simple. Game 1 on Sunday, Kansas City hosted Cleveland, a game that ended up being closer than, some might have thought. Though I did see a lot of the smart money late went on Cleveland. That line actually closed at 8. And look, let's be honest. The game at 19-3 when Kansas City got that interception, if they punch that in, this game's covered and it's okay. And then Mahomes did get hurt also. But Cleveland, you know what? Give them a lot of credit. They played hard. They played competitive. They played well. Mahomes finished the game 21 for 30, 255 and a touchdown before the injury. And I'll tell you what, that was so stupid ass play calling by Kansas City. Running a goddamn option on 3rd and 1 with a guy who already is playing with a hurt foot. Why are you putting him in that situation? Run the damn ball, or guess what? Here's a novel concept. The guy completes 70% of his passes. Let him drop back and throw the ball, goddammit. Baker Mayfield, 23 for 37 for a touchdown and an interception. He played well. He played, I'll tell you what, I was very impressed with Baker Mayfield this season. He quieted a lot of critics. He's not going to be that overall number 1 pick, historic NFL quarterback. But he's proven to be a guy that's going to be good enough for that team to win. Cleveland does imperatively have to improve that defense in the offseason. They just have to. Because if you're going to have the type of ground game that they do, you're going to have to play defense on the back end. Because they're not going to hit you with all these quick strike 35-point games all the time. So they're going to need to play some defense. And right now, they have good pass rush from the edge. They have one of the better edge rushers. But they need to get some help in the back 4 and definitely in the linebackers. Tampa Bay, 30-20 over New Orleans. A game that I got to tell you I was a little shocked by because I expected New Orleans to win. But then again, New Orleans did to themselves the only thing they could not do. See, New Orleans could have played a bad game and still won this game. They're that much better than Tampa. What they could not do is turn the ball over and give Tampa short fields. And that's exactly what this game came down to. How about Tampa scored 21 points off 3 turnovers and only needed 63 yards to do that? I mean, there's your game right there. There's your game right there. Brady, 18 for 33 for 199 and 2 touchdowns. Jones and Fournette combined for 30 carries and $125. And Brady used 8 receivers, which was, something that kept New Orleans a little off balance defensively. But realistically, as bad as New Orleans played, let me take you through the scenarios of the game of where New Orleans really, as bad as they played, still was in position to win this game. So Breeze was 19 for 34 for 134, a touchdown and the 3 interceptions. At 6-3, New Orleans, or Breeze throws an interception. 6-3 New Orleans, Breeze throws an interception. Tampa returns it to the 3-yard line. Touchdown pass to Mike Evans. Boom. 10-6 Tampa. Okay. Now, let's fast forward. The Saints are up 20-13 at midfield. Breeze hits Cook on a pass that is now going to put New Orleans at the 40 going in. He fumbles the ball. As bad as they had played to that point, if he doesn't fumble that ball, that game is at worst going to be 23-13, or it's going to go to 27-13. I mean, that essentially ended all the momentum that they had. Tampa came down, tied it at 20, and they just at that point could not overcome the mistakes. Just could not overcome the mistakes. And that was the only thing they could not do. They could have turned the ball over once or twice and won that game, but not 4 times. Not 4 times. Fairfield Physical Therapy Center, located in the Fairfield Commons, Suite G106, is owned and operated by Justin Solotov, who has over 20 years of experience in the field of orthopedic physical therapy. Call Justin at 973-276-1313 and stop living with pain and discomfort. Epic Car Service. Epic Car Service is recognized as the #1 car service in New York City by medical transportation standards. Located in the Bronx, New York, Epic Car Service will make your commute a safe and comfortable experience. Call Epic at 718-401-3742 or 844-666-6268. The Sergio Rodriguez portion of the gambling portion, which is going to involve the breakdown for both games next week, is sponsored by Stan Sports Center. Stan Sports Center is your local full-service authorized team dealer for all of your favorite sports brands. Family owned and operated, Stan's has proudly supplied apparel, uniforms, equipment, varsity jackets, and much more for the entire tri-state area since 1946. Find them online at stansportsctr.com and contact them today for your sporting goods needs. Tampa is a 3.5-point dog at Green Bay next week. Green Bay's actually, 3.5 and 51 is the total. Ironic thing about both these games next week, it's a rematch of games that occurred the same week 6 of the NFL season. And I must tell you that if you look at that score of that game, it was I think it was Tampa 38-10, I think it was. That was so far Aaron Rodgers' worst game this year. But more importantly, as bad as that game was to that point, Green Bay was up 10-0 in that game. And with the ball and moving. When Rodgers threw a pick 6. And then on the next drive, threw another interception that put the ball on the 3. We mentioned last week the troubles that Tampa has against teams with winning records. I told you I could see them winning one game against a team with a winning record because the Redskins, or Washington, I should say, the Washington football team was under 500. I told you they could win one game. I just could not see them beating both the Saints and the Packers. I know this line is 3.5, which is going to tell you that Vegas expects a close game. I don't see it. I just do not see it. I do not see Tampa traveling to Green Bay in the cold with Rodgers right now being on his supreme A game, where it's going to take 300 to 350 yards passing to beat him. And Tampa Bay getting it done. Not only do I expect Green Bay to win, but I expect Green Bay to win by at least 2 touchdowns. That's how confident I am. More so that Tampa is not this good than I am that Green Bay is really, really good. I think Green Bay is good. And I think Green Bay will win the Super Bowl. But a lot of the way I feel about this game has to do with the lack of confidence that I have in Tampa's ability to stop Green Bay this game. I'm going to tell you this score is probably going to be 31-13, 31-17, 34-17, something to that effect. But I definitely see Green Bay winning by at least 14. Game 2, Buffalo's going to travel to Kansas City. Kansas City's a 3-point favorite and the total's 54. Week 6, Kansas City beat them 26-17 at Buffalo. Allen that game was not good at all. 14 for 27, a $122, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. They only ran for 42 yards. That's been an issue that I've had with Buffalo. As much as I liked them, and I picked them to go to the Super Bowl against Green Bay, that I've been on them a lot about their lack of a running game that doesn't involve Josh Allen getting his usual 35 or 40. That game was a 3-point game. Buffalo was up 10-7. Then Kansas City went up 13-10, and then Buffalo missed a field goal. How do I see this game playing out? Well, first, let's assume that Mahomes is going to play. If Mahomes doesn't play, then Buffalo's going to win this game, and I believe Kansas City has 0 chance at winning. But I believe this game is going to be high scoring. Last team with the ball is going to win. And I believe it's going to be Buffalo. I'm going to say Buffalo 34-31 in a game where no one loses it, but Josh Allen wins it. I don't think you're going to see a big mistake by one of the two quarterbacks. I don't think you're going to see any big turnovers from the important players. The injury to Hilaire and whether he plays or not is something to keep your eye on, because you can't just be one-dimensional in these games, and Kansas City can turn into a one-dimensional team without Hilaire. Now, I will say this. Buffalo is more of a one-dimensional passing team, but that really is their style that they're used to playing because of the lack of ground game. I think Kansas City is a team that, although they like to pass the ball because, Andy Reid is there, they also get a lot of yards through the ground. Buffalo wins 34-31. And then, listen, we're going to have that Green Bay-Buffalo matchup that I predicted when the playoffs started. We'll see. We'll see. 2 big shows this week, 2 big shows next week. Let's keep it rolling. Remember that the Sergio Rodriguez Show is a show unlike any other.